Assuming you weren't raised in a barn and you know not to ask people if they live in an igloo or if they travel everywhere by dog sled. Here are some of the things you should avoid if you want your visit to Canada to go as smoothly as a curling rock sliding into the house. Number 1. Don't think of it as a liberal paradise. It might be tempting to think of Canada as some kind of progressive wonderland, thanks to its generally peace-loving attitude, its socialized medicine, its welcoming of refugees, and its overall reputation as a bunch of friendly, chill people. But you shouldn't assume Canada is some progressive paradise that's ready to welcome you with open arms if an election doesn't go your way. Then there are super-duper hot-button issues like the poor treatment of Canada's indigenous peoples, many of whom have trouble accessing clean water, and the question of Quebec separatism and sovereignty. These are touchy topics. In short, maybe just leave politics at home unless you're talking to someone you know well or if you want to hear someone go off. Number 2. Shut up about Toronto. Generally speaking, outside Toronto, Canadians hate Toronto. Why? All sorts of reasons, it turns out. According to Vice, Toronto has a reputation as an arrogant and selfish city which not only looks down on the rest of the country, but which has historically been privileged by the government at the expense of less elite areas. Additionally, its cosmopolitan opinion of itself is not seen as earned, as the city suffers from crumbling infrastructure and a legacy of racist policies. So, if you're outside Toronto, probably don't talk about how cool Toronto is and definitely don't call it the capital. Number 3. Shut up about America. One of the most efficient ways of angering a Canadian is by comparing the US and Canada. Don't say they are the same, don't call Canada the 51st state, don't call it America Junior, and don't call it America's hat. Canada has striven since gaining self-governance over 150 years ago to define its own unique national identity as distinct from its southern neighbor. To ignore that is insulting, especially in light of the way that America frequently comports itself as a loud, brash contrast to Canada's quiet, polite reputation. Number 4. Don't trash talk Timmies. There are certain things that become so firmly embedded into a culture that they become institutions, part of a cultural identity that will be fiercely defended from criticism from outsiders, even if insiders themselves might find fault with them. Kind of like how only you can make fun of your little brother and you'll beat up anyone else who tries it. For Canadians, a major example of such a cultural institution is Tim Hortons, a beloved and ubiquitous fast food chain famous for its coffee and donuts. Founded by and named after Hockey Hall of Famer Tim Horton. If you go to Canada, under no circumstances should you disparage Tim Hortons. Canadians eat more donuts per capita than any other country in the world. They take it seriously, do not talk trash about this cherished national icon. Number 5. Don't be racist. Terms like Indian and Eskimo are generally not considered appropriate in most contexts. Native American is, of course, the preferred term in the US, but doesn't fit quite as well in Canada where basically no one wants to be thought of as American. The term currently in favor is First Nations, as it recognizes their position as the original inhabitants of the land, their sovereignty as nations, and the fact that there are multiple groups with very different cultures contained under that umbrella term. The safest thing, of course, is to ask any individual member of such a community their preferred term. Be nice. Like a Canadian,